Go lay down. Go. Can't hear you.
Hi.
Hi, there you go.
I just didn't say anything yet.
Okay. Ready, Freddie?
Yep.
Bum, bum, bum. Here we go. Well, look at that title.
Oh, it's working for you?
Sex and parenting. It is. So far, so good.
Look at this. Refresh. Come on.
There we are. I can see us on there. We're good to go.
Fun stuff.
There we go. Awesome. Okay. Go for it, girlfriend.
So welcome everybody today. Good morning, afternoon, wherever you are. It's morning for me. It's morning for AJ, probably afternoon for other people. But yes, so all week we've been talking about how our sex lives and intimacy and relationships change or don't change. You'll go better after we have the little kids, the little midgets, little mini-me's running around, and how we concentrate on lives on that. So a few things that we've mentioned are if your sex life or your intimacy has stayed the same, decreased, or increased, and the majority of people have said decrease, unfortunately, which is reality sometimes with busy lives and kids. And I would have to say that it is definitely a struggle to fit that in with other human beings to take care of other than yourself. So we talked about that. How do you feel about that, AJ?
Well, I mean, it really starts immediately. You come home with this little being, and for 6 weeks you can't.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think during that time, well, I can't have sex, and then intimacy goes out the window too. Mm-hmm. And it's really just penis vagina that you can't have. You know, it's just staying away from that genital contact to allow her body to heal. But so much intimacy can happen during that time, and we don't think about that. And our doctors honestly don't talk to us about it because they're not educated in sexuality, even though they're birthing our babies and they're taking care of us. They know the anatomy, they understand how babies are made, but as far as our sexual health, they don't have the training in that, and women are not, they're not even talked to about it. And that should honestly be part of the whole package with our physicians as we're going through all of that care. It should be something that we talk about in the hospital if we have a hospital birth. I do know that there are midwives that talk about that, and they keep that going, and they help people understand that that's part of it. But again, not all of them are trained in that.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate. I mean, they go to medical school and they learn the ins and outs of giving birth to a baby and growing a baby. And that's another thing too, is that a lot of OBGYNs, physicians, just in general, don't talk about the changes of a woman's body in pregnancy. And that's a whole different topic, pregnancy and sexuality together. But they don't even talk about the changes that are going to go on with hormones during immediately as you're giving birth and the 6 to 8 weeks afterwards. And sometimes for some women, it goes way beyond that with postpartum depression and just drastic changes of their body that take a little bit longer than most. And nobody really talks about that. Nobody talks about tearing or stitches down there. I've known women that have given birth and their uterus flips upside down right after the placenta comes out because it kind of pulls it along with it, and that have had to have surgery afterwards. There's women that have stretched out and their vaginas don't go back. And that sounds really scary for people who don't want to have children for that reason, but
that's rare, but it does happen.
It does. And just so many things happen. And then I've also known in the father aspect of it that during pregnancy, what they call symptomatic pregnancy, they gain the weight and they get sick and all that other kinds of stuff, go in tune with their partners, that they don't realize that their body takes a turn when they gain the weight. They might have erection problems afterwards, or they might have depression or anxiety after they're having a baby and not knowing how to deal with their partners or be a good father. So it's on both aspects, women and male. And no doctors really talk to you about that. Like you had said, they're not trained to talk about sexuality and intimacy and getting those hormones and the dopamine going again, and really how healthy that is for your body after you parent a child.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just it. It's super important to understand the need for intimacy and touch, and we just don't talk about that. It's like once you become a parent, sometimes even as soon as you're pregnant, it's like, okay, I'm no longer a sexual being. Yeah. Well, bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit. You are a sexual being, and you're always going to be a sexual being. We are born sexual beings, and we die sexual beings. Even those of us, I can't say us because I'm not asexual, but even if you're asexual, that's still what your sexuality is. Okay, just because somebody's asexual doesn't mean that they don't love intimacy and touch. That's part of being a human being. And it is very rare for somebody to want to not to ever be touched.
Yeah.
That's not a natural part of our brains.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that on another time we talked about the rabbits and the scientist and how touch makes a difference. And it does. And I really wish that our medical community was talking to people about this. And I don't want to forget and leave out our single mothers, or our single fathers, or our adoptive parents.
Yep.
Or our, if you have a lesbian couple and they have a child, the emotions that goes through that when one of the women experiences that and the other does not, there are emotions around that. So we don't want to leave that out. But most of what we're talking about is in heterosexual couples.
Yes, definitely. And also what we were talking about too, though, is even after birthing, after giving, having that baby 6 to 8 weeks too, and just having kids from age of 0 to 18 plus years old, depending on how long you have your children living with you. That whole duration of time. I mean, everything changes as your kids age and change. You go from newborn to infant to toddler to school age to middle school, prepubescent, puberty, high school. I mean, I have all of the above.
I was going to say, you're in the midst of that right now, all of it.
Yes, I have a teenager.
Mine is grown and out of the house.
Yes, I have a teenager, a prepubescent one, and a 6-year-old. And thank God I don't have any more babies, because I probably would go and just hide in my bedroom with my husband, and my husband would probably lock the door right behind us. But And again, but that's also a good thing too, is that sometimes we do have to disconnect from our children because they just drive us absolutely crazy. You know, they're going through their own stuff. We're supposed to be their role models in all things and supposed to be there to care and love them. And sometimes I just look at my kids and I go, because I'm just so stressed out. And the only one person that I can really go and get comforted is my husband, because I know he feels the same exact way.
Right.
You know, what the
Right.
and that it is also I think it's also pounded in our head social wise and community wise that moms and dads just have to live their whole life. Their life has to revolve around their children. And this is something that I'm going to say that might upset somebody, but I'm going to explain why I say it. And I always tell parents that it bothers me when people say my kids are my whole life. My kids aren't my life. And that really bothers some parents because they view their life as their kids. And kids are a part of my life. Like I chose to be their mother. I chose to be a parent. My husband chose to be a father, and he chose to be a stepfather. And they're not my life. I don't wake up and breathe and, you know, plan my day around them. Yes, some of it is, but I'm still a wife. I'm still a sexual being. I still have my own needs, my own hobbies, things that make me me.
Right.
And parents, fathers and mothers, step parents, adoptive parents, they forget that. And they forget that they need that touch and that intimacy and that connection between each other to create a strong team, a strong parenting team. And a lot of couples just forget that, and they forget each other, and they forget negotiation and compromise as well. And it's just really, really, it's a difficult task. You're a mom, I'm a mom. It's a difficult damn task to be a parent, but
it is. And we have to think about what we want as parents, because you don't want to model forgetting who you are as an individual for your children.
Definitely.
You want your children to grow up and to be individuals and to lead happy, healthy, fulfilling lives. So if you're not modeling that for them and all they ever see is you giving up everything, all of your hopes and all of your dreams for them, then they think that that's the right thing to do. And then they get into that cycle and are not living their fulfilling, authentic lives. And no parent wants that for their child. You know, I was a single mom. And I mean, that was hard, but I wasn't one of those moms where, you know, I went to work and I came home and that's all I ever did. In fact, sometimes I did work 2 jobs. And luckily I had a couple people in my life who were very helpful and supportive with that. And, you know, helped me take care of my child.
And it really does take a tribe to raise
it really does. And not everybody has that. And I do want to talk about that here in a minute. But, you know, with my son, we went and we went wakeboarding on the weekends.
Cool.
You know, and during the week, a couple times during the week, we would drive. It was about a 40-minute drive to get to the lake where we were wakeboarding with friends. And we did that. And I still carried on doing the things that made me happy and giving him those experiences. And, you know, I just think that that is super important. And I wish that more people understood that. Yeah. Because it makes a difference. I know that it made a difference for my son. I can tell he's a very independent young man. Mm-hmm. And I know that part of that was he never saw me completely give up who I was in order to be his mom.
Yes, definitely. And also another thing I kind of want to piggyback on that is not only do we want our kids to see us be our individual selves, because we want them to be their authentic individual selves and not give up their life and their likes and dislikes for children or a relationship or anybody, is we also want to show our children that sexuality and intimacy in a relationship is really what it's all about. Like, so I've seen couples that don't even hug each other when they get home, or sit next to each other, or give each other a little peck on the cheek or a kiss or forehead or whatever. They're so distant because ever since they had kids, the kids are their life, or the father goes to work and comes home, and the mom has been home all day, or even if she does go to work, she has all these things to do and she concentrates on her kids.
And she gets to do her second job when she comes home, or
Yes.
Dad gets to do his second job when he comes home. Yeah.
Definitely. And they're just so focused on those kids that they don't show their children that I have a significant other. We are your mom and dad, or dad and dad, or mom and mom, whatever the combination is. And we love each other just as much as we love you. And that is one thing that I want for my daughters, is that when they do go into a relationship, I want them to be okay with holding hands. I want them to want to be touched by their significant others.
Right.
And not feel shame or not feel pressured that, or even when they do have children, to show their children that they love each other and they're connected and they're a team, and that's how a loving relationship should work.
Right. And that there's nothing scary or wrong or shameful about sexuality.
No, not at all. Everything is great. Everything about sexuality and intimacy and just loving each other, even in a friendship manner, that I show my children. Even with my friends, I hug them in front of them.
Right.
Or and I'll put my head on a friend or whatever, and I'll give their kids kisses just like they're my kids, and it's showing them love and affection through anybody in any relationship is what I want my kids to have.
Right.
And people who are disconnected, you guys can come back. And
absolutely.
You can
oh my goodness.
You're not too far gone. My kids don't know this. My kids will be weirded out. What the hell?
Right.
Why are Dad doing this? It's okay. Explain to them. We're just reconnecting. We love each other, and we forgot there for a little bit.
Right.
Something that you can come back. And then on your side, you deal with empty nesters.
Yeah.
Who don't know how to reconnect after their kids are gone.
Yeah. I mean, you've been
talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, you've been disconnected for so long that you no longer remember what it's like to have that intimacy with your partner, and it can be really, really scary. And sometimes people feel that they're not in love anymore, and that's just because that touch and that intimacy has been gone for so long. Now, that's not the case for everybody. Sometimes it's like, woo, the kids are gone, party time, and that's great too. But there's no reason why it should be a party when the kids are gone, because if it was already a party before, you know what I mean? Like, now we're continuing and maybe expanding, but not necessarily who is this person? I don't know this person, and now we have all this time together, and I don't know what to do with it. It's really interesting how it happens, and it happens really quickly when we become parents. That disconnection, and that, I don't want my kids to hear me having sex.
Yeah, that was another thing that we had asked is,
what
embarrassing stories do you have of your kids catching you have sex?
Okay, you know what? I don't have an embarrassing one of my son catching. I mean, there's a lock on the door for a reason. But I have two stories that just crack me up, and you're going to love these because they have to do with animals. Okay? So, sometimes it's not just kids who live with us. Sometimes it could be our parents.
True.
So my mom was living with us, and she lived in the basement, and she had a cat. Okay? So one morning, she comes upstairs, and she is just giggling. And I'm like, okay, Mother, what's going on? And she goes, I really thought that you guys were just getting busy for the longest time. She's like, all this time. And she goes, this morning I figured out that it wasn't you guys at all. It was Miss Kitty. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she goes, so, you know that little cabinet downstairs, right as you walk around the stairs? Miss Kitty gets in there at night and goes bang, 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 bang. Bang, 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 bang with the cabinet door. And she's like, I thought that was you guys. So for months, she had lived with us and thought like every night we were just going at it. So thank goodness my son wasn't living downstairs, because who knows, I mean, he would have been thinking that. He would have been like, Mom! So that's the first one. The second one is when Jordan and I got together, I had a Great Dane. And he was so funny. And, you know, with the relationship I had before, we were not affectionate at all. It was not the healthiest relationship, and there was very little affection. And so when Jordan came into my life, like I'd be sitting next to him on the couch or whatever, and anytime, like if I sat on his lap or I leaned over and gave him a kiss, or he leaned over and gave me a kiss, Elvis would get embarrassed. Elvis was the Great Dane. He would get embarrassed, and he would get up off the couch, because he usually laid on the couch, get up off the couch, look at us, put his ears and head down, and sneak down the stairs. It was hilarious. And we would be like, oh, it's so embarrassing.
Like a little kid.
He was so embarrassed. It was so cute. So yeah, those are my two stories of funny getting caught, I guess.
I also have a couple as well, and they were pertaining kids. That's when my oldest, she's 16 now, was about 2 years old, and me and my husband were together at that time. We were that was the first time we were together. But let's just say that we were in an animal position. I'm sure you can figure out what. Okay. And the door was behind him, and here she comes in, and who knows how long she was there. And all of a sudden, I turn around to look at my husband, and I see a little figure. Freaked me out. And she goes, oh, Mama. I'm like, and then I put her back to bed. I come back in, and my husband's like, I'm done. I'm done.
Not feeling the sexy anymore.
So he's finally gotten over that. After 3 children, he's like, all right, let's continue. But yeah, it was a funny time. And then another time was me and my husband let the kids sleep on the couch, and our room is adjacent to the living room. And it was actually last year this happened. And we got a little intoxicated in our own house, and him and I were just having a good time by ourselves. And let's just say that I forgot the kids were on the couch, and I wasn't quiet. And then all of a sudden I hear a knock on the door. Mama, you're scaring me.
Oh.
I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm okay. I'm not hurt. So, yes. Kids are fun.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I'm always told, you're not quiet, Mom. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah, Lance used to tell me that too. He would be like, yeah, we can hear. It's like, especially once he moved down into the basement, his room was under our room. And he's like, it travels through the vents, Mom. And I'm like, well, does it embarrass you? And he's like, no, not really. It's kind of weird, but, whatever.
Yes.
And again, that's part of, we had a very sex positive household. Even when, after I met Lance's dad, and, like I said, I was a single mom for a while, and then I met his dad, and Bubba's, I'm talking about human kids, not dog kids. Go lay down. And I still always had a very sex positive household, even though his dad was not a very affectionate person. It still was important to me that he feel comfortable and free and
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it just,
Definitely.
that was always important to me as a parent. In fact, this morning, okay, Lance has a girlfriend, and he's deployed right now, so they're not like living together or anything, but she's on Facebook, and she posted something on Facebook about um, eating onion rings off your dick.
Oh,
And yeah, not like she wasn't saying it to him. It
I
was
expect you to say that.
it was a meme of some kind, like you've reached relationship goals when your girlfriend eats onion rings off your dick or something like that. And so I see that and I posted gross. And then she's like, "It's just a joke." And I said, "Honey, I'm a sex coach. Have all the O-rings you desire." And then he posted this morning. He got on there and was able to post, and he said, just like face. And I'm like, Lance, get over it. And he goes, "I don't need this. I'm going to bed." So, I mean, that's nice to be able to have that kind of a, banter back and forth. Number one, I can go, "Ew, gross." And he knows completely that I'm joking.
Yes.
And that I can have that kind of open, I mean, I've never actually met his girlfriend. We've just talked through Facebook. And it's nice to be able to have that open, honest communication. It really is. So, I mean, think about that as parents. The way you raise your kids now and the things that you talk about and them being able to come to you and talk to you about their sexuality when they're experiencing it, in middle school and high school is really important. And if they feel comfortable doing that, they'll feel comfortable as adults when, maybe they're having some difficulties. How great is it that they can come to their parents and say, "Hey," or "My wife is pregnant and I don't know how to love her properly. Can, Mom, I need your help. I don't know. And I think that's wonderful.
It is. And then also too, with the whole having your kids hear you or catch you or anything like that, as embarrassing as it is in the moment, or maybe it might not be, who knows, but even if it is, there's also people out there who don't want their kids to hear them or get embarrassed when their kids hear them. And I understand that it might be embarrassing in the moment, like when my child said that I was scaring her. And it was kind of ha funny and embarrassing. It was still something that I, in my opinion, feel that it's okay for your kids to know you're doing this.
Right.
That's my opinion. And the reason that I think that it's okay for your kids to know that you're doing this, and it's not because I want my kids to be sexual kids, or to go out and have, early sex and get pregnant and all these other risks and stuff. No, that's what age appropriate sex education's for. And that's why I talk to my kids about their age and what to expect and sex education. But I also educate them as to, I'm 32 years old and I'm with somebody, and this is my sexuality and these are my sexual values, and I'm a sexual being and I love your father and we are attracted to each other, and that's what we do.
Right. And it's normal.
Yes.
And it's pleasureful.
Yes, definitely. And I even tell my kids when I rub their back that, does this feel good? I ask them, does this feel nice? And they're like, yeah. Or they'll be, and then I'll stop, and then they'll go, come on, keep on giving it to me, lady,
Yeah.
And I always communicate with them when I'm doing something pleasurable to their body. And I don't mean that in a weird child molestation way, but if I'm rubbing their face or I'm braiding their hair and they say, ow, I'm like, are you okay? And I teach them about communication when it does also come to their pleasure factors as well. And that's me being my own sexual self. That's what I would want.
Right.
And I teach them the same thing. And then if my husband does do something to me that I don't approve of, so let's say if he smacks me on the ass a little too hard, I go, ow.
Yeah.
And I expect him to apologize, or at least rub my butt cheek,
Right.
one or the other. And I show them that as well, that just because he is my significant other, he's not always allowed to do things like that as well.
Right.
So, I mean, it's part of parenting, and showing your kids how you're sexual and how you like to be touched, and you can receive pleasure in other ways and be intimate in other ways. And that's another thing that me and my husband do as well, is that when I'm cuddling with him on the couch, sometimes we don't like it when the kids come and cuddle with us. Like, no, we have a huge fucking sectional for a reason. Yes, to the time you can come cuddle with us, but sometimes no, I don't want you over here. This is me and dad time.
Right.
And that's a big thing for me too, is that teaching the kids that they aren't always welcome in our bubble.
Yeah.
Having those boundaries. So yes, that's my advice.
Well, and all of that is so important, because it's teaching them communication, boundaries, values, and that self-respect that we all need to have. So I do want to address one thing that is very close to my heart, and that's military families. Okay. Military families move a lot, and so they don't always have that. They don't always have the possibility of having people there to be able to go away for a weekend together. Maybe not even having a babysitter. So there are different things that they have to do in order to maintain their sexual selves and the intimacy in their relationships if they don't have that. And I know it's not just military families, but that's just the one that's popping up for me right now. Anybody who doesn't have that system around them, they don't have parents or friends or whatever who are close by, and they can't get away from the kids. It's so important that your home is a safe space for your own sexuality and for your own intimacy needs, because if you're not taking care of that, then you're not happy, you're not healthy, you're not authentic, you're not fulfilled. And it is a balance, and sometimes it takes time and thought and effort, but it's very important to have that.
Yeah.
It's important to have those boundaries. And if that means that you are putting your kids to bed at a specific time at night and they're expected to stay in bed and go to sleep, or you say, I get it. You can't sit a 2-year-old on the couch and say, okay, stay there. But 2-year-olds take naps.
Yep.
And maybe dad's not home, whatever. How about during a deployment? You want to talk to dad over online. Okay. And the kids are all, you have the right as a human being, which you are first before you're a parent, you have the right to say, I need 5 minutes with dad.
Yeah.
And if you have a baby, that baby can go in a crib or a playpen for a couple of minutes so that you can have that one-on-one alone connection time. And that is okay. It is not selfish. Okay. It is selfish in all the right ways.
Yeah.
We have to be selfish sometimes in order to take care of ourselves and our needs. And when our kids see us doing that in a healthy way, it is good for them.
Yeah.
It is not detrimental.
No.
And that's what I really want all parents to understand.
Yes, and not just locking yourself in a closet or a bathroom for 2 minutes to eat a Snickers without your kids going, no, that's not what we're referring to.
Right.
It's whether you're single parent, whether you're military and your significant other is overseas and you don't, like you say, you don't have that physical connection. So with that, having that physical connection and saying no and setting boundaries with the children. And also if you're a single parent and saying, no, you need to go to bed at 8 o'clock because mom's time's from 8 to 9:30 and I need to diddle myself before I go to fucking bed. You know?
Yeah.
That's okay. And also self-love, masturbation, self-intimacy, self-massages, if that's what you need as a single parent. And also, don't feel like you're, excuse me, a slut or that you're provocative if when your kids are gone with the other parent or you did find a babysitter that you found a match on Tinder and hooked up. Right. Those are okay things as long as it's adult and it's consensual.
Safe, sane, consensual. You're okay. Yeah. And, you know, I'm glad that you brought up masturbation because even couples, that's a change that may happen in your sexuality because you don't get to have sex as often as you would like.
Yeah.
Each of you may need to masturbate more often, and maybe the intimacy that you're going to experience is cuddling in bed at night or cuddling on the couch with or without the children sitting right next to you. But if you have those high sexual needs and you need to have an orgasm, masturbate. It's okay. We have got to get away from thinking that that's not okay.
A lot of couples do. A lot of couples say, well, he masturbates in the shower all the time, or I have to masturbate, you know, before I go to sleep and my husband's too tired, or vice versa, or whatever the scenario is. And the other one says, well, I'm right here. Why can't you just have sex with me? I'm going to say out of my personal life that I have a very active sex life. We have intercourse, okay, actual penis and vagina intercourse on a pretty regular, probably way more than we should. But anyway, but we also both actively know that we masturbate because if we're tense or anxious or pissed off at each other for some reason or whatever it may be, I just get fucking horny for no goddamn reason. I'm reading a book and something triggered. Oh shit, I'm horny. You know, whatever. I gotta go take care of that. It's just a natural thing.
Right.
And it's nothing to be ashamed of. And it doesn't mean I want my husband less. It doesn't mean I want to masturbate over him too. And a lot of people also think that would I get addicted to masturbation? Or if my kids walk in on me when I'm masturbating, what are they going to ask? Well, that's a good education moment right there, buddy.
Right.
You know, things like that too. And a lot of couples feel shame when it comes to masturbation or try to hide it, and it's natural. It really is. Our bodies tell us what we need as long as we listen and take care of it and be selfish in those moments.
Right.
It's totally acceptable.
Well, just look at the stress levels that happen when you have kids and look at,
I don't want to.
Look what happens when you masturbate and those feel-good hormones coming out, and that can be something that can be a tool that is used to manage your stress.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's really, really rare that somebody is like, I'm pissed off, I have to stop what I'm doing right this second and masturbate.
Yeah.
You're not going to whip it out in front of your kids and start doing it. You're not going to do it at an inappropriate time. Obviously, there's that tiny, tiny, tiny portion of society that has that, but it's not, there's something else going on.
Yeah.
That is not the problem. The masturbation itself is not the problem. There's a different problem that needs to be addressed. And I think that we really get over medicalized when we start thinking about that, like, oh, if I have to masturbate to chill out my stress, there's something wrong with me. No, not at all.
No.
That's like saying there's something wrong with you because you want to eat a piece of chocolate.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a box of cookies next to me, and I'm sure everybody saw me chewing a few minutes ago. There's always something in my mouth hole.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how you manage that because you're like this big. I cannot be eating cookies all the time, let me tell you. But
I love the cookies.
but there's the difference right there. Is for you can eat cookies and know that you're perfectly fine with it. For me, I know that I can't be eating cookies all the time. And that's all part of knowing ourselves as individuals. Yeah, and we never, ever, ever want to lose that as parents. And so many of us do.
Yes, we are more than parents. We
Yes.
are more than husband, wives, girlfriend, boyfriends, coaches. You and I are more than coaches. We're more
Yes.
than our employee label.
Yes.
I'm Ashley first and foremost.
Right.
I am me. You're AJ first and foremost. And I don't know about you, from talking to you and getting to know you, we've come a really long way, and we've had to come through a journey of realizing ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. Because you define yourself as a daughter.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm so and so's daughter. I was Ivan's daughter for the first 20 some years of my life, and that is how I defined myself.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
There was no individual about me. I went through a period around the age of 15 where I really came into my own. Boy, I tucked that away real fast because that did not match with Ivan's daughter.
Yeah.
Those two things did not match at all. So I was like, well, this is the one. This is what everybody expects of me. So I'm going to put this away. And here I am at 42, and finally this is coming out. I'm still Ivan's daughter. I'm always going to be Ivan's daughter. But Ivan's daughter is her own damned person.
And you're always going to be your son's mother, and I'm always going to be my daughter's
Absolutely.
mother. And my husband and your husband's always going to be their stepfathers and fathers. And yeah, we're always going to be those things.
Yeah. That's the funniest thing to me.
But we're always
Jordan is
ourselves.
Lance's stepfather.
Yeah.
They're 8 years apart. It's great.
Okay, do you ever just sit back and think, I would have had to have sex with him when he was 8 years old? Ooh.
Well, here's the thing. I think when they pull up stuff like, oh, the 90s was the best generation, and I'm like, my son and husband were both born in the 90s.
That's great. That's great. I'm even older than your husband. That's Liz. Oh, that's wonderful.
Good stuff right there. Good.
We can sit and talk about parenting and sex for years and years to come. But what is your final statement or a piece of advice for parents with children?
Here's the thing. Who are you?
Yeah.
Here, I got it. I have it right here. Who are you? This is the biggest question in the world. Who are you? And if you cannot answer that question without putting a label on, if you cannot define who Ashley is without going, well, Ashley is a mom, a wife, a da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I mean, yes, you are all those things, but that's superficial, baby. Who are you? Inside that little person who a long, long, long time ago had hopes and dreams.
Yep.
Where are those hopes and dreams now? And where is that little person? Because that little person should be right beside you all the time. Never should that little person go away, because they're the ones who know, who are authentic.
And they will also make you better parents.
Absolutely.
They really will. They really
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes.
That's my go-to.
Mm-hmm. And I've said a bajillion intense statements throughout this time. But yes, I agree with you.
Ashley's thing is, you're more than your labels, people.
You are. You are. And diddle yourself. It is okay to masturbate.
Absolutely. If you're feeling it and there's not,
And set those boundaries with those kids. Yes, spend some time with them.
And if you're not sure, reach out and ask us for help. That's what we're here for.
That is what we're here for. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.